Well, hey YouTube. I just finished my lunch. Tina's red hot burrito. Supposedly there's beef in those, and I think what the beef is, it's this one. Sometimes there's two. This one piece. Can you see that? It's a piece of. It's what the Mexican guys, is that racist saying a Mexican guy? I don't know. I love Mexican guys. They're the best, aren't they? I've got a Mexican guy friend, so that I automatically can't be racist, right? The Mexican guys, they call that the nerves, nerves. You don't want the nerves. You don't want a lot of nerves in your. Anyway, yeah, Tina's red hot beef burrito. That little piece of gristle in there is your beef. So today, quickly, we're a minute and almost 2 minutes in. I'm just giggling about my lunch. I wanted to read something that I had seen on a guitar pedal forum, and I thought, gee, that's a quote worthy of sharing, passing along. So it says here, tone is a path. It isn't fingers. It isn't tube. It isn't expensive as F either. There is many ways to skin a cat. What is one man's trash is another man's treasure. Never listen to folk who speak in blanket statements, buyer beware. Learn basic electronics, look at schematics. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Constantly reinvent yourself. This forces you to make different choices while you play. Write your own music. Forget about cover band fame and local music pub bars. As a rule, nothing good ever happens in those places. It's a dead end. Unless, of course, that is your goal, then go for it. Look into who you are copying, buy the right gear, or DIY it for cheap. Support your local musician friends in real life and online. There are all sorts of different types of musicians. Some are born skilled, some earn it. Just as there is all types of music. Embrace these facts. Be free. Live, love, and dream music. Our greatest, and then it says a bad word, gift. Our greatest bleeping gift. So, tone is a path. It's not in your fingers and it's not in a tube. And it isn't expensive as another bad word either. There is many ways to skin a cat, and that to me that means getting a tone that you're happy with. Like, tone is such an overused word. Tone is a control on a guitar which reduces high frequencies. That's what tone, to me, that's always what it meant. Was something that I always didn't mess with. I always left it all the way up. Never listen to folks who speak in blanket statements, meaning you'll run into people who will go, solid state amps are for chumps. You gotta have a tube amp. That's not always the case, okay? There's JFETs and there's solid state amps that provide wonderful sounds that you can't get with a tube amp. They're different. The Roland Jazz Chorus series for beating a dead horse. The Sun Beta lead that used to be hated. People hated Sun Beta leads. You couldn't give them away until a new type of music came around, which is called stoner and doom. And then this is a desirable, like everyone, well, not, but people are talking about the Queens of the Stone Age tone. It's a different thing. It's a different flavor that for a while was hated. It was frowned upon. You couldn't give it away. The Jimmy Corgan, the pumpkin guy, he tells a story of being on the road. They would stop in a particular music store, I believe in San Francisco, correct me if I'm wrong, and he would pick up, they were this type of guitar store that had old people would trade in. So he was getting big muff pedal there. He would get a specific type of big muff known as an IC muff. It didn't have transistors, it had a chip. And these were garbage. They were effing garbage. These are people who speak in blanket statements. I had an IC big muff once. Effing garbage, because they know there's another one out there that has transistors that's, to them, better. Well, a whole new guitar tone was invented by Billy Corgan using his cheap big muff. And excuse me, I just drank this milk and it's coming around to change my voice. I sound like a duck. It's been submerged in a vat of feces when I drink milk. So Corgan, he goes in a Guitar Player magazine interview. They said, "Gee, you have a unique guitar tone." There we have that dirty word again. "How are you getting that sound?" And he says, "Well, I use a Stratocaster plugged into a big muff and this amp." They said, "Well, what kind of big muff is it?" And he says, "Well, I think it's an IC. They call it an IC big muff." So he's out on tour. He swings by this place where he's bought them before for $75, and he says, "Yeah, I'll take an IC big muff. You got any?" "Yeah, we got two left." And they go to ring it up, and it's $500. And he says, "How come this IC big muff is so expensive?" And they said, "That's because of you." It's your fault. So instantly, the IC big muff becomes a thing. So what does this tell you? It tells you that people, they have a hard time figuring out tone on their own. That they'll make a few uninspired random purchases at the point from when they've started playing guitar to when they've started researching it, which means looking at stuff online, watching YouTube demos, and reading in forums. And I'm not a tone expert. I think that I have good tone. I don't think I have great tone. I think I could if I had more money and I spent more time on it. But I think ultimately people that develop a guitar playing style which is conducive to, if you hear them playing, you know it's them. That type of person, they tend to have good tone because they always sound like themselves. They're not playing "You Really Got Me." They're not Eruption. They're not playing "Enter Sandpit." They're not playing all of the standard "Smoke on the Water," "Stairway to Heaven." They're making their own music. And this is where you start to realize, making your own music, hey, this song, I'm going to go for this sort of color that I use. I've got this new color. It's a little different. It's a tube MP preamp sound paired with a modern rectifier. And it gives me something I have never heard before. So, for me, yes, using multi-effector, embracing Satan. I use these zooms because I like the models. Sue me. Again, forgetting about, getting back to rereading this and explaining it, folks who speak in blanket statements and buyer beware. That means that don't go to Guitar Center and ask them what you need. Figure it out on your own and buy the stuff used. You're better off picking up a set of skills and really watching YouTube demos, I would really recommend you need to try to get at least 3 demos and then kind of combine those in your mind to see, because they're all going to be using different guitars and different amps and they're different players. And between the guitar and the amp, you have the pedal, and you may hear one pedal and it's really what you're liking is not in that pedal, it's in the guitar or the amp, is what I'm saying. So watch out for people who speak in blanket statements. They're usually full of it. They usually don't know. They haven't tried everything in the world, and they're acting like they have. So just be really careful and do your own. Like, you really need to have this thing in your own possession for a little while before you determine what it's good at, where it shines, is what I'm getting at. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. What that means is, when you start thinking narrow-mindedly that you have it, this is the secret recipe, there's nothing else, you're never going to change, you're never going to do everything different, this is to your own detriment. It's not helpful to you to have one thing. Constantly reinvent yourself. This means try different things, different pedal combinations, different guitars, and different amps, and so on, because this forces you to make different choices. Well, when you're using your same thing, you're going to play the same way. Having something different, switching the pedal order, or trying a different amp with a different guitar, forces you to react differently, and you play differently. You make different choices. It's just the way our minds work, and that leads to writing your own music. This is what I recommend as a path. Like, you start, you don't know what you're doing, you learn a little bit, you join up with a group of guys, you play some covers. That goes as far as it can go, and then maybe you start playing around writing your own music. And then that leads to wherever your path takes you. Okay, so for me, that playing covers was an important part of my path, but it's not the destination. And I see that becoming a destination now. It's like, well, the bar we play, they don't want to hear originals. Well, then sidestep that bar. Is that where you want to end up? Once a month you're playing your gig at the same place? I don't know. To me, that was like a jail sentence to me. So I got out. I made a promise to myself in 1996 I would never play in another band again in my life, unless I was playing lead guitar and writing all of the music in the said band. And I broke that promise once. I received a letter in the mail, a mailbox, a letter, paper, in an envelope, from a pastor at a church starting this local church, and he said, "Look, I know you play, we could use some help on the music." And I felt like it was less than a mile away from where I had the accident. If you don't know, I'm missing fingertops. And that happened at a church. I was raised, my mom was really a serious woman of God who woke up and would read, have her time with the Lord where she would read and she prayed, and she was a real believer and inspiration to me. So if you're an atheist and you don't believe in God, that's fantastic. I love you just like a brother. We're all humans. Whether it's stupid to believe in Jesus Christ or not, it doesn't matter to me. That's really nobody's business. But I'm telling you part of my life story and my life in music, that I went over there immediately. I felt like I had no choice but to go. And I also felt it was really cool that I had this accident at a church, and that forced me to learn to play bass, and that's what they needed. They needed a good bass player at that church. So it just really seemed like it was meant to be. And real quickly, I had my hopes very high. I thought, well, it's for the Lord, it's for church. So people they're not going to let their egos get involved and fight. They're going to have a sense of, like, be there 5 minutes early. You've rehearsed, you know what you're supposed to play. You have all your sheet music in order. Everything is going to run smoothly. And what I very quickly realized was it was the same set of problems minus the drugs and alcohol. Only this time It was way worse because everyone thought that they had their own private line with God and that God had told them exactly what song we were supposed to play, and that wasn't it, and they were going to put up a anger thing, and I was lied to. I was manipulated. I was played against other people. There was a division. It was just like, I can't believe that these fully grown people could play like what do you call it, grade school, like playground. Just like, really, can't we just like open our hearts to this gift that we've been given? You know, like I play and I look at my cat, doesn't get it. You know, my cat's, they're like they don't feel what I feel when I hear, if you play a major E chord and a minor E chord, that emotional power that can only be described as magic. I've always said it, music is the only real magic that I can summon. I can't sit here and turn a glass of water into wine. I'd be wasted if I could. So, forget about cover band fame and local music pubs and bars. Nothing good ever happens in those places. It's a dead end unless, of course, that is your goal. If you want to have, you know, your pink flag or your Lord Zeppelin or whatever it is you want to, then go for it. Look into who you're copying, who you're trying to ape Jimmy Page tones, and you need to get a Supro. You're going to need to get a Marshall. You're going to use a tone bender, stuff like that. So learn what you need to get to ape those tones, and I would recommend learning DIY. It's easier, and it's sometimes easier to build your own than it is to hunt down the real thing and pay through the nose. So don't listen to anyone who's selling anything. The guys in Guitar Center are not your friends. When they're talking to you, they're doing this the whole time in their mind. They're thinking you're a douchebag, and they will do whatever they can to sell you whatever it is to get you out of their face. That's what they're being paid. If they weren't being paid, they wouldn't entertain you by hearing you telling them about your band, about Pink Flag or Lord Zeppelin or whatever it is you're doing. DIY, DIY, DIY. This is my recommendation. Be nice. I'm going to just skip over that DIY. Okay, trust me, you don't want me to go on that rant, but it's any self-respecting guitar player needs to have a soldering iron at home. You don't necessarily bring it in your guitar case, but you should have a basic. You don't need to understand exactly how, what's going on with the bias, but you should be able to at least, repair your cables, put together a kit, throw a Vero together of a fuzz. It's rewarding, and it gives you another power in your resume. Like this guy, well, he's a joker. He drinks. He hits on everybody's girlfriend, but he can fix your cables when they break. So they would have you come and join their Pink Flag or Lord Zeppelin, whatever that would be. DIY, DIY, DIY. Be nice. Support your musician friends in real life and online. And that doesn't mean you have to be writing people checks or, let me come over and clean the rims on your Toyota RAV. It means just be nice. If the guy isn't playing the same type of music as you, or let's say he's not really, let's say you're born talented and this guy is kind of a joker, it doesn't give you the right to go on one of his videos and say, terrible playing. He was born different than you. You were born talented. Maybe when that guy figures it out and he knows what the 5 or 10 chords are, he's going to have this other uh, gift, talent to write. And that guy who you're calling him names, he might end up being the next Bob Dylan. So I know that's a stretch, but it doesn't help you as a human being with karma of stuff coming kind of back around and affecting you to just put yourself on this pedestal and not look at other people and realize, hey, they're on a path too. Maybe they don't realize it yet. Maybe they think that they know everything. But that's a dangerous place to think, dangerous place to be. Either one of those positions doesn't give you the right to judge anybody. So be nice. If you find yourself making a comment that's nasty, backspace that. Figure out something nice you could say. Because, yes, everybody has a YouTube music channel now. We all do the same stuff. And there's room for everybody. So just be nice. It's not that hard. Being a dick is bad karma, and no one likes to know it all. There are all types of musicians. Some are born skilled, some earn it. I actually have more respect for the people that earn it than the people who are born able to just dominate the fretboard. There's all types of music. Pop, hip hop, and rap are not music. So that's how I get past that point. Embrace these facts. Be free, live, love, dream music, our greatest effing gift. And that's debatable, but we're not here to debate that. We're just here to read an inspiring quote about musicians, music. I'm looking at today this news about Roger Waters and David Gilmour's continuing to fight. And one of the statements that a guy made was that the long and short of it boils down to the fans are the ones who are getting cheated. He didn't like, is this the life we really want? He didn't like the Yellow Dress Girl. He thinks that both of those albums, mind you, I'm kind of in the same boat. I thought the Waters album was all right. It was all right. It wasn't as bad as the Girl with the Yellow Dress. That was terrible. But the long and the short of it is these are guys who have taken it as far as you possibly can. They're Pink Floyd. They are, if not the greatest rock band alive, the top 10, arguably. Come on, the Pink Floyd. And if you kind of see how they've behaved, obviously, Waters got a big ego and got out of control, but then he kind of reined all that in, and then it's like now Dave Gilmour's kind of being a jerk. And as a fans like these two guys, they could try to drop it and realize that they're cheating the world out of what could have been. Meaning, after the final cut, after 5-10 years passes, get back together and start trying to come together on something. And for the sake of the world, a selfless thing, we are going to make music together again. Reading from this thing that I just put up here, this video, this tone talk, me talking about my advice, which is really to myself. Okay, I need to be clear on that when I make these videos. It's an affirmation for myself, my own theory, my own philosophy, my own way of looking at this path. And I think, man, wouldn't it be nice if Waters and Gilmour could be nice to each other and just drop it and get down to it. Obviously, in our own little paths, we're not Pink Floyd. We're not at the top of the game. We're squandering around in some puddle somewhere. A lot of us are just by ourselves, merely making music to entertain ourselves. And that none of that really matters. It matters what it means to you, what you're getting out of the experience. And I think creating mental roadblocks of when I get that expensive tube amp, when I get that 59 Les Paul Gold Top, then I'm going to be able to really do it. that's shooting yourself in the foot. You can take whatever cheap, you know, Squire Strat or first act guitar, get a reasonably decent pedal and a reasonably decent amp, and get about the same effect as you would with the world's most expensive, you know, Parker Fly and a Dumble with a, you know, germanium. I mean, yes, it's nice to have great gear. It's not always a luxury we all can afford, so it shouldn't be a roadblock. And I think with a lot of people, it's a mental thing, and I hate to see that. I hate to see so many of my brothers squander their time thinking that they just don't have what it takes. They don't have the right tools to do it right. So a lot of it is our perception. A lot of it is what we create in our own minds. And that's what I'm on about. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. If you're here, I would love comments. I really like it when people comment. I like it when people are nice. I don't like being personally attacked. And keep in mind, I'm not any type of pro tech or expert. I'm on a path. I'm a goof. I'm not a talented guy. I don't make good or great music, but I try and I want to, and I love it. I love doing this stuff. I really do. And I know you do too, or you wouldn't be here listening. So you have the same shot as any one of those guys. I mean, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter that Roger Waters' album was, 400 weeks. The only thing that came and kicked it off was Michael Jackson's Thriller. That doesn't matter. A song is a song is a song. And I have the same odds at doing the same thing that Waters did when he wrote Breathe or Time. I have the same ability. I can go and pick up my tools and, fire up some software and come up with something. So that's a big pill to swallow, but that's what I'm trying to get through here. All right, you guys. You know what I always like to try to say, so I won't even say it. Peace. All the best. How's that sound?